But all right, you got any more phone calls there, Cody Coates?
We do.
All right, let's do it. All right, hey, you are on Collider Live. Who do we got?
Hey, how you doing?
How are you? Who is this?
Good. This is Chris Kraus. Sounds like Chris Cross. Easy to remember.
Hey, Chris.
I'm from New York.
Hey, brother. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Jumping?
What's going on today? What do you got
I'm
for
doing
us?
good. Jump. Yes, jump. Yeah, I actually had a question I've been thinking about for a while, and I'd love to get your guys' input on it.
Hit me with it.
Yeah, so what I've been, like everyone, especially in the post-Me Too movement, people have made a big deal about, trying to figure out how to be a responsible movie viewer. And I think that's a really complex question, and essentially, you get people that go, hey, just don't watch anything if someone's done something bad involved with the product. But you guys know, especially, that films are a huge collaborative process. And sometimes you get something like, I don't know, let's say an X-Men movie. And if you have an issue with Bryan Singer, you also have Patrick Stewart, who's been a huge advocate for survivors of domestic abuse and things like that. Right. And not watching that would hurt both of them. So I was just curious about how you guys approach that and how you view that topic.
It's great question.
Thank
you
so
much, Chris.
Right?
Yeah,
we talked about it on the way here.
We move on to fart conversations. We move on to fart conversations. No, thank you for the call.
Good call, Chris.
Yeah, I think it was a great call. It's tough because so recently, who was the director that said the thing?
James Franco.
No, it wasn't.
Bryan Singer.
No, it was the director that said that he would not work. He wouldn't do the movie unless Kevin Spacey was involved in it. What was that?
Schrader.
Paul Schrader said that he would. That's a different circumstance because the movie itself has not been. Because I think what Chris was talking about is a movie comes out, a controversy hits, and you're not supporting the rest of the cast. Like for example, the Bohemian Rhapsody, right? You look at everything that Rami Malek did in that movie. There's so much inside of that movie that should be celebrated. And then depending on how you feel about, you can choose not to see it because of Bryan Singer, but it's a slippery slope right now. Paul Schrader casting Kevin Spacey after all this stuff and where people are saying, I don't want to watch a movie, he's making that choice to see it. And then people are going to choose to be involved in it knowing whether or not, you want to work with Kevin Spacey or not. But I think Schrader's point he was trying to make was that you separate the art from the artist. Yeah. It's slippery slope sometimes, I think. It depends. Because then you look for when we talk about Mel Gibson, Roxy, no, thank you, not gonna.
For my career, I do, but I don't support.
You'll watch them because you have to review the movies. But if you were just going, you would choose not to see them.
Yes, I would.
Right,
I would choose not to see them.
Right, and it depends on circumstance. It depends on your views. It's tricky. It's a fantastic question.
Every Sunday during the football season, I have the same conundrum. Every single Sunday.
Roethlisberger.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that number one, and it's taken me a long time to get to this point, but it's really a personal choice. So not being upset with somebody else's personal choice about that because I understand both sides of the argument. Right. And it's not worth losing friendships or relationships over what somebody else chooses to watch for me anymore.
Well, that's right. Exactly right, because the perfect example is that is last Wednesday. So we had Lilo Brancato Jr. on, which, by the way, I have to say, as much as we've been talking about certain people in the comments, I really respected the conversation that was going on. I did.
Those were some of the nicest comments.
Because it was a discussion that they had inside. It wasn't even directed at us. It was a conversation, and it was kind of the point. It was a moral conversation of what people thought. There were tons of people who thought. There was actually a New York police officer who was on the scene and wrote, and at first, and this is what I respected so much about the guy in the comment. He said, look, I saw this, and the first thing I said was, well, I'm not going to watch the channel anymore because you're supporting this guy. And then I said, well, let me see. Because you and I thought, didn't hold any punches. We asked everything that we could. We directed it. We asked the questions of those people. We wanted to represent the opinions like Josh and ask these questions, and I believe that we did that. And I also, and so the cop watched it and said that he hasn't changed his view, obviously, but he respected the interview and he is going to continue to watch the channel because he liked the way that we approached it, but also respected your take on it, Josh. And I said to Josh afterwards, I was like, every single person in that room understood where you were coming from.
Yeah,
for sure. It's like, and if he chooses not to watch any of Lilo's movies for the rest of his life, then that's understandable.
I think the fact that this caller was thinking about it and was concerned, I think that's the step in the right direction. Is if you're actually going, it's not just like whatever, separate the art from the artist. You know, that kind of thing. I don't really, because I agree with you. The Mel Gibson, I got people were like, oh, he's had his time out or whatever, he's done his time or whatever, and I was like, I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, because it's not it's not a specific thing he did. It's who he is,
Yeah.
and that's why to me he hasn't had his time out. But I think that I try to look at who's getting money from things. That's how I try to make a lot of my decisions. Like
Who's benefiting
who's
from the
benefiting
most.
from
Right.
it,
and from who?
Yeah, and
Right.
from who.
Right.
So you know, if is there a back end deal? Obviously, we don't have all the information on who's getting points and what's happening, but like, does me going to see something and me paying to buy a movie negatively affect people that I don't want to be negatively affected, or only people that I do want to be
Crew
affected, and
Right.
all of those things. So you just try to make a decision, and honestly, for me, it's not black and white. I don't have like, I will not see anything with anybody's name who's been associated with.
Right.
But there are some people that rub me in different ways than others. Like I have a really hard time watching Woody Allen films,
Well, of course.
and I
Because they're bad or because he's an asshole?
because for the latter, and so I choose not to.
Right.
Because for my job right now, I don't have to do
You don't
that.
necessarily have to unless
So-
Oscar-wise if things pop up. Right.
So
right.
for me, it's different people. I
see.
look at different
Right.
situations.
Understood.
But you can't feel bad. Like I loved a lot of Woody Allen films, and then it was suddenly like, oh, now I
Yeah.
can't like.
No, I
there's
can't.
certain comedians I feel like
Well, that
can't
was it. I believe
like
that's one.
anymore.
I think that was one of the points
Mm-hmm.
that were brought up inside of that doc. Was that you have the Woody Allens, the Kevin Spacey, well, not Kevin Spacey not yet, but Mel Gibsons who've gotten their so-and-so second chance, right?
Yeah.
And so they're saying
Roman
about
Polanski.
Louis C.K. was my favorite comedian.
Yeah, and
Me
he's-
too,
and
and
he's-
it's
was just like-
from my town.
and he's doing gigs again. He's doing.
Yeah.
He's
There's I don't know. I listen to this podcast. I know Mark Wright listens to. It's called The Daily. It's from the New York Times.
Yeah, I brought it up today actually.
Oh, did you talk about the Louis C.K. thing?
No.
No,
Okay.
not Louis C.K. Just
So
something
they
else.
were. Michael Barbaro was interviewing the owner of the Comedy Cellar in New York,
Yeah.
and talking to him about Louis C.K. and the whole conundrum, the exact same thing we're talking about right now, and the guy, the owner, he was like, it's not really my place to say if he can or can't perform again. All I do is own a club, and if he would like to come on, he can. And Michael's like, well, but you can make that decision. You are able to make the decision that says, no, Louis C.K. can't perform at my club, thus blocking him from performing again.
Right.
Don't you think that's kind of your responsibility? And he goes, I don't know. And he really didn't have a good answer to
right
it.
because no, what he should have said is, listen. And he won't ever say this.
No.
But what I want to tell you is, I need this club to make money.
Correct.
He still has people coming. Look, another
Correct.
thing, I wasn't going to talk about this today too because it was deep.
We
were
said we
going
would.
deep.
We-
We said but Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah.
Neil,
Yeah.
he what happened to him now over the
sexual
happened?
harassment.
a lot of sexual harassment.
Yeah, he's been,
Get
he's
outta
been
here.
accused like
Did this just happen?
many
Over
years
the
ago,
weekend, yeah,
and
but-
one
but
that
then-
was
There
more
were-
recent, and he wrote a big
Go ahead, what you had?
Facebook post.
There were 3 different accounts. One
different?
from I believe this year, one in the 80s, and one in like 2014 or 2015.
Right. And he responded. He responded
Yeah.
quickly. A lot of times people don't
Yeah.
respond. He responded quickly and kind of defended a lot of them. I don't know. I think it's up. I don't know if it's on Twitter or whatever it is, but like,
He posted on Twitter.
yeah, it's just so
his response.
again, and that's one of the things too. I don't know enough. I'm not saying anything about whether or not I don't know enough about the detail. I am ignorant when it comes to the details of all this stuff too. So I'm not going to say.
Right.
I would never say that the people who are accusing are wrong and not true because this guy posted something on Twitter. But I'm also not going to say right away he's guilty because I think that's what a lot of people do. Very well might come out that he is guilty. Very well might come out that he is not. But it is yet another circumstance of someone high profile, you know.
And then there are the cases too where it's like I don't even necessarily think that they did something illegal, but I just don't like them now. Like Chris Hardwick, who's back and
Right.
working.
It is so weird when you see the trailer for like Talking Dead.
Yeah.
And he's definitely a different dude on camera.
No.
He's
So
definitely-
different.
Well, he's aware that people don't look at him. the
And I
same
just
way.
don't like
Yeah.
watching him
Yeah.
because when I'm watching him, I'm like, ugh.
Right.
And again, regardless of your thoughts on whether or not that was sexual abuse or what you thought about her article that she put out, I just don't like the way, I don't like him.
I think
don't-
the only bad take on this
Agreed.
whole thing is when you go, oh, this Me Too movement, like that, or this, it's hard for men now to do anything. That's the bad take.
Yeah.
Yes.
100%.
The open line of communication, that's good.
It's-
thinking about it, talking about it,
Yeah, I
but just
agree.
this whole,
Right.
you can't. So hard to be a man.
You can't, and that's what a lot of celebrities have gotten themselves in trouble. You can't have that approach to it.
Yeah.
But the thing is, too, very similar to what we were just talking about before. There are also times when people will just throw things out on and gone away from the legal system, throwing stuff out on Twitter, and it hurts your case.
Yeah.
It
Well, who
hurts
was
your
it?
cause.
The Aziz Ansari one.
Right.
Which,
Oh, yeah.
And for me personally, based on researching, I read every article. I do everything that I can to be up on things. I have no problem watching him because he in that situation.
It sounded like he just went on a bad date.
And I'm not saying I would date him after reading that.
Right.
I wouldn't want to go on that date, but I didn't read that and walk away and think like, ugh.
Yeah,
the way that I walked away from the Hardwick one thinking, ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all tough. But look, this is